Good afternoon, all of you. I welcome all of you on the second study circle meeting. And for this, it is a very hot topic which has been chosen for the today's meeting, where the amendment has been proposed. It has been also enacted, but it has not yet come into effect of section 16(4), and whereby section 16 subsection 5 has been introduced. On that, what are the issues that has been covered up in this session? So I'm sure that it would be helpful to all of us in our day-to-day practice. With this short introduction about the session, I ask the president to have a opening remarks on this.
Good afternoon. Respected Chairperson Sujata Rangnekar Madam, today's speaker Janak Vaghani, Vice President Parth Badeka, Joint Secretary Rahul Thakur, my committee members present over here, and those who are online participants. Let me welcome you all in the second study circle meeting of GSTPAM. In fact, during the month of January, we had visited Commissioner State and Principal Chief Commissioner CGST. And at that time, when Praveen past president, immediate past president, Praveen Shinde, and we all were there, we had submitted the representation and we did requested them for 16(4). There has to be amendment in 16(4), or there has to be, because it was a constitutionally, and in some of the cases also, it has been upheld that 16(4) means it is a double taxation. Already we have collected, and since only because they have filed, there is a delay in filing return, they should not be deprived of. And a couple of representation we had made to the finance ministry also. We had been there, myself and Munaj was there, and our joint secretary Jatin Bhai also was there, and we had submitted time and again. These are the difficulties faced by the taxpayers and the tax practitioners as well. After celebration of the 78th Independence Day, I'm fortunate enough to be with the Commissioner of GST, and it was a flag hosting. I was there with them. And we had a meeting, and then we had a service cell meeting as well in the last week. And he is, our commissioner is such a person that he wants not only the queries, he is asking for the suggestion. And so whosoever is raising the query, against that, what are the suggestions we want in this act? Because now it is a evolving act. All the GSTN, whenever council meeting is there, we are there to represent, and whatever circulars, if they possible to get internal circulars, he is ready to get the internal circulars, and if at all anything is to be escalated, he is there to escalate that. We welcome once again on the eve of Ganpati, all of you. And with this few word, I request Monaj Bhai, Joint Convener, to continue the proceeding. Thank you.
Thank you, President, sir. Now I request our LNR chair lady, Sujata Madam, to have a few words about this.
I congratulate the new president, Mr. Mahesh Mathur. This is his first study meeting, and the topic is also very interesting. People will have interest in this topic because many of our dealers are affected by this RTC disallowance, due to the time limitation. And this is a welcome step, I think, by the government and the central government and the state governments that they are trying to, provide the ITC wherever the people have missed, due to some unfortunate events in their cases. So, and the right speaker, absolutely apt speaker is Mr. Janak Vaghani. And I call him, all-time consultant. Anything you ask him at any time, he's ready with the answers and replies. So he is the absolute right person to, take up this session. I wish all the best to Mahesh Bhai for his this year. All the events will take place very nicely. I'm very sure about it. Thank you so much.
Before you start, let me talk about few things about Janak. Whenever he is into any of the group, and he is into Thane group, members group, where almost 256 chartered accountants are there. Any query raised by any person in the group, he is the first person to give full answer to that query. Immediately, within fraction of time, he takes only few minutes to give answers, and his answers are final answers. Means what he is giving, there is no any appeal against his thought process. Sir, we salute your dedication towards profession and real people. Thank you.
Thank you, Sujata Madam and Mahesh Bhai for kind words about the today's speaker. Now I request Sunil Bhai Joshi to introduce our today's speaker, Janak Bhai.
Good afternoon. Respected President, respected Chairperson, Sri Sujata Madam, today's speaker, Sri C.A. Janak Vaghani, office and my dear friends. I have been given the pleasant opportunity to introduce today's speaker, C.A. Janak Vaghani. I think it's more difficult that the person doesn't need any introduction and I have to introduce them. I hardly there is any person in this gathering that who has not been touched by this knowledge and this expertise on the subject. But for the benefit of all, I'm reading his part. C. Janak Vaghani become CA practicing as a chartered accountant since 1985, mainly sales tax, now GST. Form a LLP under the name and style of BJU and Associate LLP Chartered Accountants, with other reputed CA practicing in the area of direct taxes, including international taxation. He has presented papers in NRRC, RRC organized by various professional organizations on the subject of sales tax. He has written the books jointly with others on the sales tax, including study material for beginners under BST and MVAC Act and Worst Contract Tax published by GSTPAM and other various professional organizations. He was member of study group of WRC of ICI for publication of guide to MVAT audit and issues on VAT audit published by WRC. And also he has also publication on amnesty scheme for WRC with other members. He's regularly contributing articles, columns on sales tax and in various tax journals, regularly giving lectures on sales tax, VAT, GST in various public meetings, seminars, conferences, study circle meeting, guidance cell, coaching classes organized by various professional and tax organizations. He was chairman of the Malad Chamber of Tax Consultants. He was also vice president of AFPT W West Zone. He is regularly making representation on issues of GST VAT before the government authority personally as well as through GSTPAM and other tax professional organizations. At present, he is honorary consultant to various trade organizations. He is the chairman of Coaching Classes Committee English of GSTPAM. He is a member of National Executive Committee of Confederation of GST Practitioners and Industry. He is invited member of Managing Committee member of GSTPAM. He is a managing committee member of Malad Chamber of Tax Consultants. As you always all know, he is an active member of subcommittee of various professional association in Mumbai. With this brief introduction, I present before you CA Janak Vaghani sir. Now I request President sir to felicitate today's speaker, CA Vaghani sir. Thank you, sir. Now the dais is yours.
नितीन स्क्रीन खाली कर. Sir, down here. हाँ, ऊपर ही है. और कुछ नीचे. ये down. Up, down, बराबर है.
Mr. President, our Chairman Sujata ma'am, other office bearers on the dais, and friends. At the outset, I thank the GSTPAM for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts on the much debated topic today across India. Before that, as usual, Jai Shri Krishna, Namaskar, and Jai Jinendra to all our Jain friends observing the position. And of course, Jai GST. We all know that GST was introduced. It was said that it is good and simple tax. And the law is really good and simple. There is no doubt about that. But the procedural part was very tight. And what we had earlier, legacy, होता है चलता है, that has caused the problem. That we never considered the importance of filing of the returns in time. There is no assessment concept under the excise and custom, and now under the GST also. So our belief that we can claim the ITC up to assessment, even in appeal also we can claim the ITC. That is given by. Now it is not possible. I still remember the 2002 scenario where I was in charge for representation before the state authority on the proposed MVAT Act 2002. In this hall, we had convened the meeting from all India or all Maharashtra state representative. And I still remember the face of P.V. Surtesar. He was the chairman at that time, leading that. And we had finalized the representation on the VAT Act, close by close. And we had a meeting with the Commissioner Department, Dilip Dixit sir. And there they had proposed this kind of the restriction on set-off. And we say, successfully said, that VAT being a valuation tax, where in the white paper, you have said us that set-off is one of the mode of calculation of a tax on valuation. So therefore, there cannot be any condition for grant of the set-off. So that is the basis of the valuation tax. But in GST, in VAT also, they have accepted that there cannot be a time limit for grant of the set-off, but in the GST, they have not accepted. Now in GST, what had happened? That there was a return filing system, GST R1 statement of outward supply, GST R2 statement of inward supply, with you have to tick the ITC invoices, ITC accepted, eligible, partly eligible, and not eligible, and then accepted or rejected. So that was concept. And then while after filing the GST R2, the return figure in form number 3 were auto-populated from GST R1, ITC from GST R2, and TDS and other statement from GST R7 as and when introduced. Problem कहाँ आया? दिक्कत हुई. GST R2 they cannot give us properly. And they have introduced GST R3B as a stopgap arrangement. And till October 9, 2019, this was the position. Section 38 was amended in October 2022. Not from retrospective effect, from a prospective effect. So today, as on statute, for this period, from 1/7/2017 to the date of the amendment of Section 38, we are required to file GST R2 as and when notified. Why I'm saying so? October 2009, in 2018, while giving a clarification on annual return 9 and 9C, the CBSE issued a circular, and in which they said that ITC you cannot claim in GSTR 9. And that was the cause for litigation before the Gujarat High Court in case of AAP and Company. Gujarat High Court allowed the writ petition. Matter was before the Supreme Court in Bharti Airtel and then later on AAP and Company. And in Bharti Airtel Company, it's before the Supreme Court. By the time the writ petition SLP is decided, the government amended Rule 39, making GSTR 3B as a permanent return. And in Bharti Airtel and AAP and Company, Supreme Court has dismissed what the petition allowed in favor of the department on the ground that they have not challenged the October 2009 rule amendment to the rule. Now that time I was thinking that as a respondent, what is the question of challenging the October 9th rule? constitutional validity of the October 9 amendment, how can I question it? I am a respondent. They did not challenge, nobody has challenged till today the retrospective effect of October 9, 2019. How can you make an amendment to the return filing rule from a retrospective effect without providing any mechanism? There is no saving clause also. It is an amendment to the rule, not to the act. Anyway, this is the story of the GST law. Why people could not file the return in time is this. For the period from 1/7/2017 to the October 9, 2019. I had yet to file a return in GSTR 2 and then GSTR 3 also. Then the question is, for the purpose of section 16(4), providing the time limit to claim the ITC, for the due date of the return, which return is to be considered? Is it GSTR 2 or GSTR 3B or GSTR 3? Matter is pending before the Supreme Court in Mrutyunjay cases. SLP is admitted. And lot of High Court has, in many cases, High Court has dismissed the writ petition on section 16(4). As our President said, we have been making represent from time to time to both the authority across all India. In one of the meeting of the central authority in February 21, when I was in charge of the representation, they accepted all the issues we have raised before them. And one of them was about 16(4). We said, now you declare the amnesty for the 3B. In that 21, they had declared the amnesty for the waiver of the late fee for the GSTR 3B. We asked point blankly, will this person be able to TC? All of them said yes. And they said, we'll issue the clarification. But instead of the clarification, they opt for the amendment to the GST law, not directly in section 16(4). But they made amendment, they inserted a new section in section 16, subsection 5 and subsection 6. This is to be notified, and once it is notified, then it would be effective. I will not go on to the merit of the subsection 5 and subsection 6 because our Deepak Thakkar has already explained us in our first study circle meeting, inaugural study circle. So I will not go into that. But pending the notification, our moot question is what? How to defend the show cause notice issued by the department. The period of the amendment is 1718 to 2020-21. For the period 1718 to 2019-20, the time limit for giving reply to SC is already over, and they have passed the order up to on or before 31st August 2024. So for them, now we have to go for the other course of action. But for 2021, still they have got time to issue the show cause notice under section 73, and they have got time to pass the order. In 2021, we cannot forget that period from our life. It was a COVID period. And 2021 is now extended up to 30th November, only 2 months relief. It was earlier due date of the September return. That was 20th October. Now it is given to up to 30th November 2021. And in those periods, the people could not file the return in time. Maybe because their number was cancelled. or they had gone to their native place and could not file the return. But for 2021, still we have got an argument that can we take as clear that now you have amended the law, so you cannot issue the so-cause notice. Law is amended, but the amendment to the law is not being given force because the government has to issue a notification. Once the notification is issued, then it will be applicable retrospectively. I tried to search a lot on that topic, that whether amended law yet to be notified, what will the course of the action in the Supreme SCN status. Unfortunately, I could not find out any judgment in favor of that. Unfortunately, so we have to make out our case. Our argument would be that on the merit, section 16(4) does not apply. The due date for filing return for the purpose of section 16(4) cannot be the GSTR 3B but GSTR 2. If you look at rule 37, for reversal of the ITC for non-payment of the dues for within 180 days, they have referred GST ITC availed in GSTR 2. ITC availed in GSTR 2. Wherever there is ITC reference, they say it is a GSTR 2. So for the purpose of section 16(4), due date is not the GSTR 3 but GSTR 2. Without GSTR 2, I cannot file GSTR 3. But in 2021, October 19 amendment was there. So for 2021, we cannot take a plea that GSTR 3B is not a return. But I will say that GSTR 2 should be the considered for section 16(4) as a due date. Now, presuming that for some fine morning, the GST Council recommended let us introduce GSTR 2 for all this period, then what will happen? Do they require amendment in section 16(4)? Answer is no. So that is the one reason one which can say for the 2021 and 30th November 2021, if you file the return in time, in that period, then you can take a shelter of the High Court judgment. Recently, I forgot that citation. There they have said that 30th November of the next year is to be considered for the purpose of the section 16(4). So 2021, we have got a good case to argue at the stage of so-called notice level only, but they will not accept it. That is also true. But this is the one thing for the SCN status of 2021. Then the SCN can be issued under section 74 of the Act. That is the next issue. Now, okay, time limit for 73 is over for 1718 to 1920. Central department and the state, we have got the two persons. Tunde Madir Binna. Central department, each and every case applies section 74. हमने डिटेक्ट किया ना, हमने किया सब. But the question is that can we apply 74 in each and every case? Fraud. By filing return late, have I committed any fraud? Is there any misstatement? Is there any suppression of fact? अरे भाई मैंने रिटर्न फाइल किया इसलिए तो पता चला तुमको. I have claimed the ITC. And suppression is defined in the section. A information which is required to be given and not given. It's not only a suppression merely, with the intention to evade the tax. If I have not evaded the tax by filing the GSTR return late, What crime I have committed? I have complied the provisions of the law voluntarily. This cannot be a ground of issue of notice under section 74. Oh, or service tax wala. Then where you get the judgment on that point? Apna reference, sir. In our both references, 22-23 earlier reference and today also, under the head of section 74, these judgments are reproduced in our references. No suppression when facts are not required to be disclosed. That is Continental Foundation Joint Venture, Supreme Court decision 2016 CLT. And Janaka Vaghani's Supreme Court judgment. No suppression if the department is aware of the fact. There's a Puspam Pharmaceutical Company, 78 ELT 401 Supreme Court. And there are a lot of decisions on that point also. That suppression, what is the meaning of the suppression? Suppression is also with intention to evade the tax. We have received so many notices from the central authority on this point, 74. They have invoked 74 for retrospective cancellation of RC cases also. Even for erroneous refund. Now, how can you say invoke section 74 erroneous refund? I filed refund application, you granted me the refund. How can be a suppression of fact for that erroneous refund? It can apply only in those cases where there is a fraud or misstatement, but not the suppression. Then, once the amendment is made operative, once the amendment is effective, so-cause notice pass kar diya, order is passed. Now, can I apply for rectification? Because you amended the law retrospectively. Whether retrospective amendment to the law is a mistake apparent on the record or not. I always say that retrospective amendment in the law is nothing but a mistake of a law and has to be rectified. Very beautiful judgment under the income tax law, 1958, Supreme Court. It was argued by Nani Palkada and lost that matter. This is in favor of the department. M.K. Venkatachalavi, ITO versus Bombay Dyeing and Manufacturing Company on 20th April 1958. 1959 SCR 703, 1958 AIR 875. I just took the gems from that judgment. Prima facie, it may appear somewhat strange that order which was good and valid when it was made should be treated as patently invalid and wrong by virtue of the retrospective operation of the amendment to the Act. But such a result is necessarily involved in the legal fiction about the retrospective operation of the Amendment Act. And this is a Supreme Court decision. It holds the field till today. I searched on the judiciary websites and I found that this judgment is not overruled by anybody. There are some contrary decisions of the Supreme Court under the Income Tax Act, but that was distinguished later on by the High Court. And this judgment is holding the field till today. So according to me, for the 1920, where the order has passed today, 31st August 2024, for which we have got time period up to 30th November for filing the bill and also for rectification of mistake. Then we have a very good chance of making application for rectification of mistake also. Why rectification of mistake? I don't have to pay 10% payment of the tax. And when I make the 10% of the tax payment, what will happen? They will deny the refund of the pre-deposit. That I will come later, late. So it is a good case to argue for application of rectification mistake once it is notified, not before that. What about 17, 18, 18, 19 or 1920 where orders are passed prior to that and we have filed the appeal? And we filed the appeal. Then can it be considered in appeal before amendment notification? Answer is no. It cannot be. But we can request them to keep appeal hearing pending because there is no time limit for passing of the order in appeal. So we can request him to keep the matter in pending. At this juncture, we remember the Madras High Court judgment in case of Reflex Industries Limited, where the amendment to the Interest Act, Section 50, was made, and High Court held it to be retrospective. That interest cannot be levied when you have credit balance in IT. Unless IT is utilized, there is no liability to make the payment of the interest. There the High Court had considered the amendment to Section 50. But the amendment was made, but the state amendment was not there. And there was a debate for retrospective amendment, etc. So we can argue before the appellate authority and we can tell them to keep the matter pending. They cannot consider this provision unless the act is enforced by a notification. Where time for the application over and can it be allowed? I have not filed the appeal because order ही नहीं मिला हमको. Portal में पड़ा था. In such cases, what is to be done? Now, consider that this amendment is retrospective once it is notified. When an amendment to the act is made retrospectively, when all the time period for filing the appeal rectification is over, do you think that Parliament is not aware about this? When I say Parliament means the lawmaker. Lawmaker means the officers who are representing in the council, not the finance minister. You know, we know that the council is made of the state finance minister and union finance minister. They are the courier. Law drafted by the officers is being placed in the council and council gets it passed, recommended. Then it goes to the parliament or assembly and it is being passed. Don't we think that they do not know such provision? Of course, they are presumed to know all the limitations provided in the act for giving effect to the retrospective amendment. Then what will happen? If their intention was to give the benefit only to the live proceedings, then they would have said so. Like in this recommended council meeting, they made propose the amendment and issue the notification for receipt of the tax as is various basis. What does it mean? That closed cases will not be given benefit. If you have not collected the tax, then you get the benefit. If you have collected the tax and paid, forget it. A new concept is being introduced in the GST as is various basis. And then we have a section amendment to the section in the GST law not to recover the case where there is a trade and custom is there. They have made that provision also. That council can issue the recommend the issue of the notification in such cases. This provision was there under the BST Act. It was a very good provision in BST Act, we tried to introduce in the VAT Act, but they have not implemented that. I personally tried very hard to implement that. That's a beautiful provision. Now look at this mineral loyalty judgment, the Supreme Court judgment, MADA. For 35 years in India Cements, we have been guided by the Supreme Court that royalty is a tax. When is a tax, it cannot be a consideration for price of the goods. And now all of a sudden, after 35 years, you say, we were wrong in that 30. We were wrong at that time. What will the effect of that judgment? They have given the prospective effect for the collection of the tax on the royalty from 2005. What about service tax and GST pending litigation? And that could be, this could be the example where this new provision is to be introduced, applied. Now, under the CST Act and under the VAT law also, we had a provision of claim of deduction of the goods return within 6 months or within 3 months as the case may be. So the issue was whether it is to be given in the period in which goods are returned or the year in which goods are sold. Take an example that in 23-24, we sold the goods. Goods are returned in the month of the April 24. So whether the deduction is to be allowed in the assessment of 24-25 or assessment of 23-24 in which you sold the goods. Supreme Court, again, CST versus Motor Industries Company 1983 to SCC 108 in 1983 said that the deduction is to be allowed in the year of sale, not in the year of goods return. Then the argument was made that by this time my assessment of the subsequent year is over. I cannot file appeal. I cannot make an application for rectification. Then what to do? The Supreme Court has said that for that matter, even time period is over, without amendment to the Act, refund is to be granted by the state. If I disallow the goods return claim in the year of the return, then whatever tax you have paid in the earlier year is to be refunded. So that is the effect of retrospective action, where your claim is disallowed, allowable in the earlier year. Now here the same thing is there. Here it is not the decision, but the amendment to the Act. When that has to be given effect, irrespective whether time limit is there or not. So I am of the strong view that the department should entertain the application for activism mistake. Even the time limit for filing it is expired based on this Supreme Court judgment. And again, a very beautiful judgment of the Supreme Court. It is near and dear to my heart. A. Gasper versus Commissioner of Income Tax, Kolkata, decided on 21st August 1991. That is a 192 ITR 382 Supreme Court. A beautiful judgment of the Supreme Court, where legally they cannot allow the relief because of the technical reason. But relief is allowable. In that case, what was happened? That there was a transfer of the tenancy right. And capital gain was levied on the entire amount. After the tribunal judgment, they lost in tribunal. There was a reference was made to the High Court. At that time, under the income tax, we have got the same provision under the BST Act that we have to refer question of law to the tribunal and tribunal refers it to the High Court. So when in a reference jurisdiction, High Court has got a very limited power restricted to those questions of law which are referred by the tribunal. When the matter was decided by the High Court, by that time there was a Supreme Court judgment in case of Srinivas City that unless there is a cost of asset is there, mechanism is there, you cannot compute the capital gain. But that issue was not raised in the reference application at the tribunal level, so there was no judgment. So the Supreme Court dismissed the SLP. While dismissing the SLP at the last para, what they've observed is very important. As we have stated earlier, it does appear that on the merit, the SSC has a good case in view of the decision of the Supreme Court earlier referred to. So because of subsequent decision of the Supreme Court, he has got a merit and valid argument for not to levy the tax on the capital gain on transfer of tenancy right, which we are unable to consider for the technical reasons given above. If so advised, it will be open to the SSC to apply to the Central Board of Direct Taxes for administrative reliefs by abstaining from recovering the tax that has been levied on this amount if it has not already been recovered. If such an application is made, the Central Board will no doubt consider the same sympathetically and expeditiously. What does it mean? The core is that crux of the matter is that when you amend the law retrospectively and relief is entitled by the taxpayer, then the technology will not will not affect that claim. Because I don't have a power to entertain the application, then you grant it by administratively. And the new provision which is introduced, then it becomes the duty of the GST Council to recommend the issue of the notification for non-recovery of the ITC in such cases. I will say it becomes the duty of the council to recommend that notification. So you recommend the retrospective amendment to the Act without providing a mechanism to allow the taxpayers to put up their claim before the authority. Even you are not provided rules to be made by the government on that point. That's why I said that this amendment is made by the bureaucrats. Had it been made by the law ministry, then they would have provided such mechanism for allowing the relief to the taxpayers. They knew that orders are passed. They have already passed the order up to 1920. And now you make a law allowing the relief without providing a mechanism in the law. How do I get the relief? There has to be some mechanism. Now, in the service cell meeting, when we discuss the issue, yeah. I'm coming to that point. Now, whenever we say that these things will be rectified, this should be done, they say we don't have power to do so. Then I say, on what basis you issued a circular, allow the ITC on the basis of ledger confirmation, where it is provided. Although it is a beneficial circular, so we did not dispute that. If you can allow the ITC on the basis of a ledger confirmation, then why not you allow the ITC in such cases without notification enforcing the law? That was by your notification. is a different story. There was a notification, Deepak. But here, ledger confirmation, allowing the credit on the basis of ledger confirmation, was in the spirit of the law, that once you proved that tax is paid, then the section 16(2)(c) condition is fulfilled. So ledger confirmation was a evidence to be considered for allowing the ITC. So my point is that based on this retrospective amendment, by these two Supreme Court judgment, the government can issue a circular to abstain from recovery of the tax for this matter. Then what will happen to writ petition? Now, I'm not the proper person to say, but what I have learned from the cases, that whenever you are before the High Court, then it is advisable to mention the such fact to the High Court. So wherever we have filed the writ petition, it is advisable to apply for the amendment to writ petition and draw the attention of High Court that now the law is amended, so they can decide the matter properly. In one of the High Court, they have issued, they have all disposed of all the writ petition for reconsideration on this ground. What about recovery? Now, GST tribunal still hanging in the air, like our Sunita Williams. She is held up. And our GST tribunal is also held up. And every time, every council, at the end of every council meeting, we get a statement. It will be from the October 2024. Now it is a January 2025. They have to find out 34 into 2, 68 persons to decide your matter. Herculean task. And also they have to find out the place where they will be sitting. Now again, it's a debate between central and state. States are very wise. They left everything to the central. You decide and you incur expenditure. We are not going to do anything. So now it is up to the central to form and constitute a GST tribunal. Now when the tribunal is not formed, what is the due date for filing of the appeal to the tribunal? 3 months from the date of receipt of the order originally. Now in the act they have recommended, amended law, but still it is to be notified from the date to be notified by the government. So the time period for filing the appeal to the tribunal is not there. And there was a writ petition before the High Court, and High Court say you pay 10%, you pay 20%. And now the circular is there that within 2 months, you deposit 20%, additional 20% of the tax. Then recovery will be kept in abeyance. Now, whether for section 16(4) matter, can they ask this additional 20%? Why not additional 10%? You also propose the amendment to that act to be notified. According to me, again the judgment of the as per Supreme Court, that technically I cannot claim the benefit, but on merit I am allowable, then recovery is to be kept pending. Then we had a matter under the amnesty scheme, when the scheme was notified to be effective from the subsequent date. For the period from the date of the amendment to the enactment of the scheme and the date of implementation, whether department can recover the money from you. It was a hot debate also whenever we had an amnesty scheme, and the commissioner was kind enough to issue internal instructions not to recover the taxes during this period. But there is a very good judgment of the Kerala High Court, Always Sugar Agency, dated 16th August 2020. That when you declare an amnesty to be implemented from a later date, how can you enforce the recovery? Then amnesty will become meaningless. In this case, the High Court has given a judgment, a very good judgment, that recovery has to be kept pending till the law is to be amended or implemented. Then, in service cell meeting, the president will clarify whether he is the right person to say about the law and representation matter. And the commissioner has promised and ensured that we will not recover the tax. But you know that we have got the two governments, central and state. And across India, these issues across India, not only limited to Mumbai and Maharashtra. So that has to be come from the CBI's revenue secretary, CBIC chairman, not CBI chairman, revenue secretary, or the finance minister. But now people say we don't rely on the finance minister because she promised before during the election time that I will amend section 43PH for SME payment, but not implemented. So let there be a circular by the authority that will not recover. They have promised the circular in October and November. After the council meeting of 9th September, they will issue the circular probably. Then the last issue on the topic, what about refund of pre-deposit? Because section 150 of the Finance Act, please note this section 150 of Finance Act, because this is not forming part of the amendment to the Act. It is the section 150 of the Finance Act which denies the refund to you. No refund shall be made of all the tax paid or the input tax credit reverse, which would not have been so paid or not reversed had section 118 been in force at all material times. So because of amendment to the section 16.5 and 16.6, 16.5 and 16.6, if you are entitled to the refund of the tax paid or ITC reverse, both the issue covered, you will not get a refund. Then the issue is that whether pre-deposit we make for filing of the appeal, is it a tax payment or what? Under the AMVAT Act, when we ask for the interest on our part payment, they say it is not a tax payment, so you don't get the interest. Then, what is the nature of this pre-deposit? In excise and custom, the concept of the pre-deposit for filing the appeal was introduced in 2014. While explaining the nature of this pre-deposit, CBIC has issued a clarification at para 5.2. Pre-deposit for filing appeal is not payment of duty. Hence, refund of pre-deposit need not be subject to process of refund of duty under section 11B of the Central Excise Act or 20 of the Custom Act. That is what unjust enrichment. That is a provision. मला बराबर 11B unjust enrichment. वो excise आता है तभी तू ही याद आता है मुझे. Therefore, in all cases where the appellate authority has decided the matter in favor of the appellant, refund with interest should be paid to the appellant within 15 days of the receipt of the letter of the appellant seeking refund, irrespective of the whether the order of appellate authority is proposed to be challenged by the department or not. Then in Suvidha Industries, Suvidha Limited, Union of India, on 3rd February 1996, Bombay High Court confirmed. Bombay High Court held so, which is confirmed by the Supreme Court dismissing the SLP filed by the department. Then again, Commissioner of Custom Import Raigad versus Finacor Chemicals Private Limited, Civil Appeal number 160 dated 8/4/2005. Again, it was reiterated that pre-deposit is not a tax payment. If it is not a tax payment, then we are not hit by section 150 of the Finance Act. So we should get the refund of the pre-deposit.
Then interest on that amount should be charged up to that date, not
वो
there.
मेरा कोर्स में नहीं है. I know that, but then we have got the cash ledger system. So interest cannot be levied when your money is lying in the cash ledger. So that interest should not be levied from the date of the deposit to date of the order. Friends, now it is 3:40. 30 बरोबर है ना? 3:36. So, I tried my level best to study the topic in depth to the ability, to the best of my ability, and present it before you. Whatever I said is not the final word, but it is a pointer for you, all of us, to develop it further and present our case before the authority concerned. And for the Law and Representation Committee conveners and all committee where I am also a member, that to compile all this material and present before the department so that they can issue a proper circular and guidance all over India. And the object behind this amendment is that they want to avoid the litigation. If your intention is to avoid the litigation, then the only course of the action they can think is to drop the recovery process and allow suo moto the ITC disallowed under section 16(4). We can still debate 108 whether commissioner can revise the order on his own where it is prejudicial to the revenue. Now, what is the meaning of term prejudicial revenue? Does not mean that in favor of the department. But when the order is not in consonance with the provision of the law and amended by a retrospective amendment, then the order is not considered to be a fair order. And when there is an order which is not legal and not valid in view of the amended provision, then it is prejudicial to the revenue. And then commissioner is duty bound to correct it. I mean, Sujata, you can just recollect that if you can know that. Under the Bombay Sales Tax Act, under section 57, we had earlier a provision for making application for revision of the order. Under the income tax, we have got two separate sections, 263 and 264. 263 where we can make an application and 264 where commissioner can do the revision. Under the Bombay Sales Tax Act, we had such a provision where we can apply to the commissioner for revision of the order. Then later on, because of some judgment on the interest of the term prejudice of the revenue, which will also include in favor of the taxpayer, they have made amendment to that provision and they say that taxpayer cannot make an application for revision. Then we were saying that I am bringing to your notice, so you pass the order. Likewise, for this section also, we can bring to the notice of the assessing officer, to the higher authority, that yes, that is why exactly I'm recollecting. I could not get the judgment. I could not lay my hand on that judgment because it was a tribunal decision. But there must be a judgment under the income tax also on this point. Okay, what is the meaning of the term prejudicial to the revenue? Then not only in this case, for all the cases where we could not file the appeal, even for this mismatch of the ledger ITC also, we can tell the commissioner to amend the order as on the under this section. See, both the case. Both is covered. Intimate only, yes. I mean, I'm on that point also. That every decision is subject to appeal. Now, you know, under the GST law, not only order, but the decision is also subject to appeal. Is decision not to open the revision is a decision which can be subject to appeal before the appellate authority. Is also. Why this is there? Because in the audit, the if officer not to initiate the form DRC 07. But that is what I mean. Inaction. He has decided not to take an action. Is a decision or not? See, the question is that when the power is given to you to use the discretion, and you don't use it. See, like that under the income tax act, there is a 273 AA, where the CBDT and the commissioner has been given power to waive the interest and penalty, where they don't exercise the power. It's still subject to judicial scrutiny. When you have been given a discretionary power, then it becomes the duty of the person concerned to apply the mind and give the benefit. Either you give or deny, but you can't sleep over that. That is my submission. Friends, if any question, and yes, Bharat.
November 21 it has not been removed. So they couldn't, abide by the deadline given as November 21 to file that return and claim the ITC. In that case, what can we do?
Section 16(6). Now the issue is here that they have introduced subsection 6 in section 16 from a retrospective effect. Now you are now providing now that you should have filed the return by that date. That is absurd. One can challenge the constitutional validity of this subsection 6. अरे देना है तो खुल के दो ना. Why 30th November 21? First of all, that it didn't struck to me. Why 30th November 21? When you amended section 38 in 2022, then it should be till today. Because 38 is still valid today. GSTR 2. आज कल उठ के आपने बोल देगा आज से फाइल कर दो GSTR 2 क्या करेंगे? And now they've introduced all the features of GSTR 2. They are introducing slowly and steadily. Now they have issued today only. I get the WhatsApp update that now they are going to have opened the information management system, something IMS, where you can now accept or reject the invoices filed by the supplier. What was that in GSTR 2? Same thing. तो तू ही दे दो ना भाई हमने को क्यों मगजमारी करवा रहे? यानी बात there is a beauty in GSTR 2 that I can add the invoices. But what we say that in the annual return 9, you allow us to report the ITC claim by missed invoices. Not every month, but in annual return 9, you allow us. And our commissioner had accepted that thing. But the council has not accepted. Anyway, friends, thank you very much for the patient hearing. Thank you. Yeah.
When we spoke about rectification, whether we can go for rectification, the problem with rectification is also such that one state 3 months for application. When the provider states that rectification has to be done within 6 months, no rectification will be done beyond 6 months. But there is the second provider, which states that if there is an arithmetic or error of omission or omission. In that case, the time would be long. So in that case, see, the commissioner we heard in that case. He said there were rectification का time आपको 3 months का भी but that according to means it's a very, I mean, a commissioner kind of a decision. Can you go under proviso 2 and file a rectification for orders of 16 days?
According to
Because I
me,
assume that this will be brought in retrospective. So otherwise it will not happen. So if it is brought in retrospectively, there is a mistake in law. So then it is an error of omission. The only issue is whether you read 107 in such a way that if you don't make an application within 3 months, that proviso 1 and 2 both, I mean, proviso 2 will not apply to you at all, which I don't think is the intention.
see now we have to write down the words used in the section. Now, that is why I said, okay, when the Supreme Court has said that retrospective amendment is a mistake of law, then the provisions of the rectifier mistake will apply. And the motor industry Supreme Court judgment is that you have to give effect. Whether you give it by of rectification or you give it other administratively. But if relief is to be given,
Can argue that the 3 months time starts.
that is also possible. That is also possible to argue, but then I will not canvass that argument because then it goes on my head to apply within 3 months. I don't want that. When you made a law with the retrospective effect, then you amend the law on your own or amend the order on your own. It should not be waited by me. You should not wait that I should come to your door and you grant me the relief. That is my view. When the amendment is made retrospectively, giving a relief to the taxpayer, and when the law does not provide application for that, then it is the duty of the commissioner to grant that relief. That is my contention. He cannot say you did not come, so I will not give the relief. So that is why I am canvassing the argument. No recovery can be made. Ultimately, it goes for the recovery of the tax only. When ITC claim not granted, that's the recovery only. So no recovery. That's all. I will canvass that argument. I don't want to go into the litigation whether can I file appeal, late appeal, delay condonation, etc. No. You have provided the amendment to the law with retrospective effect. Now you implement it. That's all. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Janak Bhai, for a wonderful presentation over the complex subject where there is no clarity over the issues what is prevailing. And you all will agree that sir has started from the excise provisions, unjust enrichment has also been touched upon, income tax provisions, case laws has also been touched upon, that how it can be benefit to the assessee in such circumstances. He has also taken into consideration that what is to be done when you have not filed the appeal and why there is no need for filing of an appeal. He has also taken into consideration the decisions of the Refex Industries, where almost of the similar situation which was arose before the Madras High Court in the case of GST itself. Only difference was that at that time it was already enacted. Here it has not been enacted, and in the same issue of the Refex, which was in the previous decisions of the Telangana High Court, that has also been covered, which was the mega engineering case, where High Court has specifically mentioned that considering, unfortunately, that time it was only the press release. So that has also been covered and distinguished that how it will not apply in this specific case of the mega engineering. And beautifully, sir has taken over the entire session. So we are thankful to you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I request that for round up. So, and there are one announcement. From tomorrow, we are starting a intensive study circle. So I request all the members, it will be having 12 sessions around. So 12 to 15, 16 session. Yeah, wow. So there will be a 16 sessions. So, and all the sessions will be online. So I request all the members to join for the study circle meeting. It will be very helpful where there will be a intensive study circle. So there will be in-depth discussion over the particular subject. And now I request for the national anthem. जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाए तव जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे भारत माता की